Welcome to Michigan Sunrise Side. Today, I'm Kevin Allen, and joining us today is the chief of the East Tawas Fire Department, Bill Deckett. How are you today, Bill?
Just doing fine there, Kevin.
Doing fine. All right. Earlier this week, we had a news story on about a new fire truck simulator that you guys recently received through a grant, and we were going to talk to you and get a little more in-depth on that. Let's start off by talking about how this all came about. Where did the idea to get a simulator come from?
Well, actually, we went to a Fire Chiefs Conference about 3 years ago, and part of that we had some speakers talk about firefighter deaths in the United States.
Yeah.
And, of course, the leading cause is heart attacks, but the second leading cause is going to and returning from the fire scene. So you would think that the most dangerous thing that we do is fight fires, but actually it's driving to and from the fires. So out of that, we had a chance to demo a simulator, but they're very expensive, and we said, someday we really need to have one in northern Michigan so we can teach our guys to drive safely, and it all started back then.
Is that right? Now, so that was 3 years ago. Now, when did you apply for the grant?
We applied for it last year.
Okay. And then was just recently that you received notification that you've gotten the grant, right?
Yes, it was earlier this year, actually in late February, which worked out good because we had a big fire department show down in Indianapolis in April. So
okay.
We were able to look at the vendors and kind of see which one we wanted at that time. So it worked out well.
Oh, all right. So there was a selection. It's more than just one that offer different features, I would imagine, just like a video game kind of thing.
Interesting you say that because that's exactly what it is.
Oh, really?
The old school technology uses around 7 computers to generate the images and make the truck seem realistic and so on. And this company that I went with uses, they called it Xbox technology, where the whole thing can be run on one computer. So we kind of went with a new technology.
Oh, all right. Now, the cost for this, though, a little bit more than what we would normally pay for an Xbox, though.
A little bit more. This was $150,000.
Ooh, man. But all of that was covered through a grant, right?
Well, yeah, all except we had to pay 20% of it.
Okay.
The rest of it was paid through a grant through the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, through the FEMA, and it's called the Fire Act grant.
Oh, all right. All right. So now you have it right now. Have you already started training with it?
Not yet. We have it in our possession, and actually we'll call it the owner's manual just came yesterday, and they called last night to set up a training with us, so we've kind of has some ideas what we want to do with it, because actually they wrote the scenarios around things that we told them to do. So, we had a good hand in setting up what's in there, but now they're going to teach us how to do it correctly. So, all
right. Now, you mentioned the number one cause being heart attacks, which kind of surprised me. I would have thought number one would have been actually fighting the fire, but as you mentioned, number two is getting to and from. Have you experienced that yourself? Have you guys had any problems in terms of getting to and from a fire?
Well, I've been on the department since 1969, and unfortunately in 1970 we lost a firefighter right here in East Tawas, Tom Dillon, and then since that time we had one other accident, so even one accident is
exactly. Yeah, that's the point I was leading up to, that no matter how many, one is way too many. Now, I was reading the article that you had given us about this, some background, kind of an interesting leap in technology for you from what you normally would do to train firefighters to drive, right?
Right. The state of Michigan requires that they take a classroom portion, and then after that, it's recommended that they do a driver's training course, which essentially is setting up about 250 traffic cones, and you have to maneuver through those doing different things like backing up and going around cones and diminishing clearance and so on. But it's all done at speeds around 3 to 5 miles an hour, and
right.
There's actually no actually emergency driving techniques that are taught in that.
Yeah, I guess that would be tough to do. Where could you do something like that? So here's a great way to do it, the simulator. Now, you said, now, did you got to try it when you went to these different shows? Is it very, very lifelike? I mean, is it like you're really sitting in a fire truck?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It has, things, this was designed, they had to look like someone's truck, so we had to make them look exactly like our new truck. Mm-hmm. So the dashboard is the same, and when you turn on a fire truck, it has 3 computers that have to boot up, so you have to wait for those to boot up, and
wow.
It actually does that. In this one, you have to wait for the computers to boot up, and it has a seat shaker, so as you go down the road, it actually feels like it's driving and so on. So
this sounds like it'd be a lot of fun in somebody's living room too, huh?
Yeah, it sure would.
Yeah, it would. Now, will you train all the firefighters, or will there just be certain ones, or will they all get this training once it's set up?
Well, everyone that wants to will. I wrote a 5-county grant, so we're going to start with those 5 counties around us. And also at Kirtland College, they recently started a firefighting training academy there. So it will be a regional training center, so I'm trying to link up with them so we can open it up to more people. So we want as many people as possible to drive this.
All right. Now, another question for you. Is there any chance that in some time in the future the public will be able to see this technology in action?
Oh, sure. When we have open house and things going at the fire station, we'll certainly let people see it and have a look at it.
Indeed. Well, it sounded interesting. That's why I wanted to get you on the phone and talk about it. A simulator like that. I mean, we all play those games at home, and here was one that's going to be helping to save lives. And as you mentioned also, that the other counties in the area will also be able to take advantage of this technology, too, in the future.
That's right, and it certainly changes the way you drive. Some of the research we've done says that you have to create mental markers, so in an emergency situation, you do the right thing. You have to have a plan, more or less. And it's interesting because the pilot that landed the plane in the Hudson River was a risk manager, Sully Sullenberger, and he talked about having a plan. He had actually practiced landing in water 100 times before he could do it correctly. So by creating those mental markers in the fire truck, when someone pulls out in front of you or when something happens, hopefully they're going to have that mental marker to know what to do in that situation. So.
Indeed, yeah. Well, I know we hear about it with NASA, and as you mentioned, flight simulators. I'm glad to hear that the technology is there for firefighters, too, because that kind of training is tough to get just out on the streets there. And I'm glad that our fire departments in the area will have that so that they are safer when they go to and from a fire. I guess the next thing to work on is stopping those heart attacks, huh?
That's right. That's right. We have to work on a fitness program. And it's interesting, in the state now, as far as I know, there's only one simulator. That's Kalamazoo Township, but 2 people recently got grants for some. Addison Township and Brighton got one, so there are more coming, but we're very lucky to have one of the few in Michigan and northern Michigan available to us.
Indeed. Well, we're lucky to have a fire chief who's on the cutting edge all the time, Bill, to bring us that kind of technology here to our area. That's terrific.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
Fire Chief Bill Deckett from the East Tawas Fire Department. We appreciate you spending some time out of your busy day to join us here for Michigan Sunrise Side today.
Not a problem.